Places, please. Places, please. This is your places call for the final performance of the Razzle Dazzle.
I mean, Las Vegas used to treat us like movie stars. These costumes, sets. We were ambassadors for style and grace. The Las Vegas Showgirl. The iconic American showgirl.
You have an act prepared?
I do. I'm a dancer.
Music?
Yeah. I gave it to the maestro.
Hold your cards close.
Feeling seen, feeling beautiful. That is powerful. And I can't imagine my life without it. Doing a job that you don't really love, that's hard.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the NRW, where nerds rule the world. I am Heather Hurt, and I have a huge picture of Pamela Anderson's face right next to me because you just came off the trailer for The Last Showgirl, which is available in, I think, limited screens still right now. If not, it is available definitely on digital. We're doing some of these a little bit late, so I apologize if we haven't done it, but no matter what, it should be available on digital very soon, and we'll get into that shortly. The Last Showgirl is about the Last Showgirl in Las Vegas, a aging show that is no longer, they can no longer fill the house. They can no longer even get enough people. They're counting on their fingers. There's no calculators and there's nothing like that. They cannot fill enough seats to keep the show running. They have just been replaced by a circus at the hotel, and it's time for their aging clientele and their aging starlet to finally move on. And it's about how that affects people, these showgirls that have been doing this for decades, how they can't find new work, and how it's hard for showgirls in New York, in California, and in Las Vegas, how it's so hard for them to find work. And their age is such an important part of it. And how new trends define that. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Sorry, that was a really weird way of explaining the plot, but there's the great thing about this movie is there is a lot of plot, but there also isn't. There's a lot that happens within Shelly's kind of life, but at the same time, it's not necessarily plot driven. We're just watching as she's accepting where her life is taking her at these final moments of her show. With that being said, cast and crew, it was directed by Gia Coppola. And if you watch this movie, my husband had no idea that this was a Coppola film when he watched it. Within the first 15 minutes, he goes, "This is a Coppola film, isn't it?" And I was just like, "Yeah, it's Gia Coppola. Yes, it is." You can tell. It was written by Kate Gersten, who I think was also the writer of the book. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is. I think this film is based off of a book. Pamela Anderson plays the main character, Shelly. Brenda Song is Marianne. Kiernan Shipka is Jody. Dave Bautista is Eddie. Jamie Lee Curtis is Annette. Billie Lourd is Hannah. And Linda Montana is Gio. This is a very small film, even though it is given a very large feel. They're very, very interesting, Easter egg characters in here. This movie has a lot of heart and a lot of soul, and it was a very small film for how big it was. But as always, it takes a village, it takes a small city to make a film. So love to everyone. With that, Kuya P, initial thoughts of The Last Showgirl.
Initial thoughts from the trailer. It coming. Did we even do it?
We did. We talked about how Pamela Anderson was not wearing makeup for a good chunk of this.
Oh yeah, like more power to you, girl. Hey, take care of yourself, and I understand. Um, but I was looking forward to it and curious. She's has a storied career of being this manifestation of what everybody should aspire to look at and be. But people get older, things change, and where are they at now? So I thought it was very interesting of an idea to see just how the world is and how history changes and how we should be making changes and where do you sit after so long after such a life in that. So I was very curious what this story was going to be. Yeah, outside of the makeup thing, like we were saying in our reaction, Heather.
Exactly. This movie was very, very, very reflective of Pamela Anderson's actual career. She was one of the top it girls for almost a decade. And then the moment that she decided to get her breast reduction, the moment that she decided that she didn't want to be a sex icon anymore, Hollywood basically shunned her. And then of course there was PETA shit that she just could not get past. And she still can't get past, unfortunately. We're not going to talk about PETA here. Go watch the trailer if you want to hear my 401, my deep dive into that and my concerns with it. But so it was nice to see Pamela kind of taking ownership of her story. That's what I was excited to see. I was excited to see her tell a story that was very, very, very similar to hers, but in a fun, glitzy, glammy way, because it's Las Vegas and you have to do it in a fun and glitzy, glammy way. So now initials, let's get into the review. Kuya P, your thoughts of this film?
It's not a happy, positive film, I'll tell you that. I thought it was good. It didn't steal me away, or I absolutely, it's like why we watch reality shows, and I hate to say like murder mysteries. We know the unfortunate ending to people's situations with that, and you hope for the best. And that's kind of like what it is. Like when you're watching that 2020 murder mystery episode, and you already know what the crime was, you already know what happened, and you just hope for the best. And that's kind of what this film is. And just hope that you see how people react and handle situations, and that people will see things like this to help prevent things going forward in the future. We learn from things like this. This is why we have history books, y'all, and we should detail things that happen so we don't make the same mistakes again. And that's what is the importance of this film. And I think everybody was amazing in it. I think Pamela Anderson, Jamie Lee Curtis, come on now, legend. Like really did the damn thing. The relationships with the other women, the other showgirls, Brenda, Kiernan, was amazing. But the whole thing with Hannah, her daughter, as somebody who's been dealing with parental issues the past couple of years and figuring things out, struck a chord. And then, well, just even overall, as a person in this film industry, this creative industry that Heather and I, we critique on and stuff like that. But a lot of people that are actors, filmmakers, creatives give so much of themselves for a perception, a desired dream to create and do things. So relatable. And just how do we relate with all of that journey and the things that we give up? I thought it was a well done story. Shout out to Gia Coppola and her great cast. There are certain things that where I expected a little bit more to give more of a critique. Like I thought the presentation was good. It gave me what I exactly thought I was going to get from the trailer. Maybe a little bit more fleshing out in certain parts, but from what we're going from point A to point B to point C of this closeout of a show, it's exactly what would have occurred during this time. And so I enjoyed the film for what it was. Yeah. How about you, Heather?
When I'm going to I've been doing this too much lately, and I admit to it. I let the critics who said that this was award-winning get into my head, and my perception and perspectives were probably askew because of it. Initial statement, I'm going to say this right off the bat. Just because it is a Coppola family member does not mean it is award-winning. I don't want to say that this is a bad movie. I'm not going to say that. But every single person who blew up this film, they were blowing up Pam Anderson's acting. They weren't blowing up this movie. They were blowing up elements of the film. They were not blowing up the totality of this film, of the movie. In so many ways, it actually disappointed me a little bit because of that, because this film had such high regard going into when I got to see it. I know Kuyupi when he got to see it earlier than me, before all of these huge, like all the things you see behind Kuyupi, revolutionary, award-winning performance, all this stuff. Before all that came out, he got to see it. I didn't. So I kind of went into this with slightly blurred vision, and I shouldn't have. And I think I would have liked it a lot more if I didn't. But what I did really, really, really like about this film was the lack of shyness to talk about what you need to do, what you did then, and what you need to do now because of expectations of women, of people with uteruses, what they need to do. Back in the day when Pamela Anderson, in the night before, I'm going to say 2001, you had big boobs, you had blonde hair, you were blue-eyed, you could get almost any role you wanted, because you didn't necessarily need the talent, you just needed the looks. You needed to walk out on stage and someone be beautiful. You didn't necessarily need to be the best dancer, but nowadays you need to be all of it. You need to be the most beautiful person in the room and the best dancer. And they didn't shy away from that, which I really like. They even had this great moment where Jamie Lee Curtis does this little dance because she's kind of at the end of her rope, which was really, really beautiful. But neither Pamela Anderson nor Jamie Lee Curtis are dancers. They're not like they're not like these heavy, they might have danced at one point, but they're not like these heavily trained dancers that are doing flips in the air randomly. They are the classic actor who knew a little bit of everything that they needed to know to be an actor because they were pretty enough. And I don't mean that in a bad way because both of them are great. But they had the looks that got them to where they wanted to go. And I'm going to say it, Jamie Lee Curtis's boobs are wonderful in this film. But so the one thing that woman has is a great scream and great boobs. If you don't understand why she has her role in Halloween, then you just don't understand film history. But with that, and joking aside, not shying away from those elements, though, is really, really important to understand what the differences was in places like Las Vegas and what they are today. They are no longer expecting diamonds and jewels and women just twirling about. They are expecting full-on circus acts in everything they do, and that makes it very, very hard for some people. And you see it with Brenda Song's character and Kiernan Shipka's character, who are literally doing everything in their power to be at the forefront as their show is currently going under. So having the two different perspectives was really, really great. It's you have these aging women who literally can't keep up, and then you have these young kids who have the talent and the ability, and they still can't keep up. And then of course you have the mother-daughter dynamic. When you have entertainment, often you pick one or the other. You pick family over showbiz, or showbiz over family. And it was really important to tell that story. So push come to shove, everything I have to say about this movie is don't get too hung up in the 5-star reviews, 4-star reviews. Don't get hung up in that. Go into this film if you haven't watched it yet. A lot of people have. If you haven't watched it yet, though, go into it with fresh eyes. Know that this is not going to be the most perfect film. Know the acting is great, yes, but this is not going to be the most perfect film. And just because a Coppola directed it doesn't make it the greatest film on earth. But it does have some really great elements to it and some really great storytelling that's important to see. And rock on to Pamela Anderson for going for a good part. She has to wear makeup, unfortunately, because of lighting and stuff, but this is probably the most bare she has ever been in a film ever. And so rock on to her for living that life and going forward with it and having her life be hers again. All right. I think the great news is that both of us went a little bit long, but we actually both touched on the actors at the same time. So Kuyupi, I'm just going to jump right into our final thoughts, since this movie has been out for a bit too. What are your final thoughts about this movie?
Again, yeah, I enjoyed it. As you were talking as well, I pulled up, Wiki to just see if there's anything, because I was always curious about the ending, and I'm curious your thoughts as well on the final ending, because it is the last performance of this, act that she's been a part of. And what grabbed me is I didn't think about this, that what we saw, I'll just read it quickly, and hashtag spoilers, it's been out for a little bit. But the last line here that's written on the wiki, that it says that, because she's passing all of her people as she gets ready to go up on stage, and we just see this performance. And we see Shelly envisions Hannah smiling at her backstage and watching excitedly in the audience with Eddie, but it is unclear if Hannah truly forgave her or if it was just a manifestation of Shelly's hopes. I didn't think about that.
Oh, really? That's all I read.
I thought we actually saw, what we were presented was them actually being there, not that it's probably her thinking what she's and desiring what she wants to see. That's what's getting me right now. Like, oh, did we just imagine it because that's what we were living in her head? Or that actually was there, that Eddie was there along with Hannah watching, well, obviously Eddie's there, he's managing the thing, but was Hannah there with Eddie, again, cheering on her mom for the final performance? That I don't know, because of how, from the other parts of the film with the relationship. What did you think? Did you think she was there?
No, I did not. And the idea was that for a moment, because what you do is you see Hannah say that she wanted to be there. That was the only moment that kind of broke that reality is it fictitious or is it reality? But after that, absolutely not. This was her way of accepting that she needs to take a different direction in her life. That's how I took it. It's okay, I am accepting that this is now my final role in this space. I need to move on. I want to develop my family. I want to be with them now. And I will do what I need to do. That's how I took it.
I got that too, that she was now finally accepting of that. But just the fact that but you don't, so the thing, the representation of Hannah that we see is really in her head. She wasn't there.
I think it was all in her head. And the main reason, and the way that I think that they displayed that, and if you're a theater kid, you definitely know this, which QNP and I are, when you're the house manager, you can't be in the front. You can't. So the fact that they added Eddie to it, I think was their way of saying, she's not actually here.
And I didn't think about that. Oh, now I feel like, because I was like a little like, what?
Yeah,
that's how I left it, and now it's making sense now. But I was like,
it's a very touching way of her accepting the truth. And once again, so much of this film is just the acceptance of who you are and where your love and passion came from and where you need to lead to. So that's what the ending was to me. It's her going, I finally understand what this show means to me, how much it meant to me, but it's time that I take the next steps in my life. And you can do that. Age is just a fucking number, people. Live your life, continue to live it. Don't let others define it just because you are in your 50s and 60s or 70s or 80s. Live your fucking life. My step-grandmother, who is a Holocaust survivor, lives a better life, lives a more active life than me. I'm just going to say it and rock on. The woman is 95. So live your life. That's how I took it.
Agreed. Rock on. And all the points you said, man, great film. The craziness of how this is like, oh, critics this, I enjoyed it as a critic. Obviously, we gave our thoughts. It's a good film, but I think what's wild and crazy that just, because before it even came out, it felt like there was all this pressure and push. This is it. What? Just because she didn't wear any makeup? And well, because it just feels like in recent years, like if you don't wear any makeup, if you just literally just are so completely raw with yourself, that's immediately a critic push, a push by everyone, and it's a best film. No, you have to have story, it has to be shot well, it has to be acted well, it has to have some substance. This has substance, but I think what's wrong, I don't know, maybe the points you were hitting on, it just felt like before it even reached out to the people to form an opinion, it was already, you're gonna love this film, that's it. And that was off-putting.
Yeah,
let's be honest, that was off-putting. It's a good film, but just that other shit, Let us decide. It's like the WWE pushing Roman Reigns down our throat years ago. I think that's an excellent comparison.
It is.
We hated Roman when WWE, you're gonna love this guy, blah blah blah. He now is our guy because of the bloodline story, everything else, and probably credit to Triple H. Definitely a lot of credit to Triple H. But you're not gonna make us love Roman off the rap. We want to love Roman. We'll learn to love Roman.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, Showgirl, great film.
To me, it's a good film. To me, it's a good film, and that's because I let preconceived notions get into it. So my final thoughts are: go into it with fresh eyes. Don't remember when you go into a movie, let the trailers be the best part of the film, and you will always be surprised. Or go in expecting that the trailers are going to be the best part of the film, and you will always be surprised. If you watch this at home, of course you aren't going to see trailers, but go in expecting to be the opening credits are going to be the best part of the film, and I think you will really enjoy it. And remember, a name means nothing. A Coppola name, it just means that they're rich fucks and they can make whatever they want. With that being said, though, this was a good movie. I wish I went in with fresh eyes because I think I would have loved it more than I do. And I'm not saying I don't love it. I'm just saying I think I would have loved it more. Rock on to Pam Anderson for living her best life. Once again, the movie should be out on digital. We should have looked this up before, but that's okay. If not, there are definitely some theaters out there that are still showing this, and it does deserve your time. If you totally disagree that this movie was an incredible film, and you think this movie was an incredible film, and I am wrong, and even Kuya P underplayed it a little bit, tell us in the comments. If you absolutely hated this film, if you are a Baywatch guy and you believe that Pam Anderson should have never gotten her boobs reduced, you can kindly fuck off. Thank you, guys. We are the NRW. Like, subscribe, share, and all of those things. We'll see y'all soon.
Bye.